It happens so fast. This thing goes live so fast that I've learned to just, as soon as I hit play, I have to smile. If not, it doesn't work. Okay, I haven't been live in a while, so I wanted to come on because I haven't forgot about my Instagram people. But I want to make a couple announcements about my Instagram account. Sorry, I got a piece of hair there. One, it's getting harder and harder for me to post longer content on this account just because of how Instagram's doing it now. So probably the longer content's going to stay on YouTube and on Twitch, and most of my live stuff's done on Twitch. So just to be aware of that. Even some of the longer videos, it's not really posting anymore. It's just a big thing. So anyway, just to let you know that. So I'm going to try to come on and do a couple lives here and there. And some of this content might be covered in subsequent videos. Some of it might not be. We'll see. But I do want to talk to you today about stepping away and running away. And we're going to kind of walk through this one a little bit. What is the difference between stepping away and running away? So this probably won't be too long. Humans run away, right? I mean, that's what we do. We run away. We don't really know what else to do. So humans run away. Conscious creators, when you're in your consciousness and you're in your higher consciousness and when you're connected to that, you're going to step away. How do you know the difference? How do you know if you're running away or stepping away? Now, a couple things I want to say about running away. When we run away, be aware that running away is always going to keep you running in the same loop, right? You can't really run away from anything. It's kind of like being on a hamster wheel. And when you try to run away, you're going to end up in the same space, okay? Because you can't run away from it. But that's as humans what we try to do. We always try to run away from it because we don't want to deal with it. So you have to really look at the reasons for we're going to blanket it and say leaving the situation. What is the reason we're leaving the situation? Does it have to do with, I just don't want to deal with it at all? Or is it a conscious decision that I'm too wrapped up in it and I can't see the highest line thing to do? Because those are going to make a difference. If we can't see the highest line thing to do, then we can't do anything. And we can't operate from our highest aspects. We're going to be operating from our human aspects because we're too involved in it. And when you're so involved in it and you're so wrapped up in it, the highest line thing might not be what your human would want it to be, and what might not be what another human would want it to be. I'm going to give a couple of examples for this and see what are we going to be okay with, right? Are we okay if someone close to us dies if we know it's the highest line thing? Can we come at that from our highest consciousness if it's someone we know versus someone we don't know? And that's going to give you the indication when I say you're wrapped up in it. You have an attachment to the thing. Can you come from your highest place and see the reason that person had to go? And a lot of when I say, can you see the reason that person had to go, people exit our lives, whether it be through death or just leaving, and not through death, for different reasons. And one of the biggest reasons they do, there's a lot of reasons, but we're going to focus on one of the main ones, is that they're going to hold us back from the next thing we have to do. And they also are going to act as part of our awakening. So this person passing away could be part of your awakening, or other people in your, let's say if it's someone in your family, other people in your family's awakening. But if we're trying to influence the outcome, we don't like that outcome. If someone looks like that might be the outcome to their timeline they're on, we don't like that. Because we don't like the way, we don't like that outcome, right? So we want to save everyone in our family from having to go through that. So we talk a lot about saving people from their awakening, right? We don't want them to have to go through it. We don't want them to have to deal with this. We don't want it to be hard for people. Now, but it was hard for us. And that's why a lot of us come on and do different things, because we don't want it to be hard for people. But sometimes that's what moves the human along. Hard is going to move the human along. And if we're not moving the human along, then we're not really doing our service to humanity. We're trying to support a human. And that's why we really want to look at that. When we're supporting a human, when we're supporting humanity. If we can't see a zillion reasons why something's happening because we're too clouded with it, then you know, a lot of people would say, and I've said it before, you have to get out of it. You have to step away. But we can't run away. And that's it's a tangled situation when we're stepping away versus running away. I know this is going to go in a circle for a bit, and just be aware of that. Because I can feel it's going to go in a circle for a bit, because I'm kind of going in a circle in a bit for it. If you're conscious enough to know you have attachment to it, then you can step away from it. If you're not conscious enough to know you have an attachment to it, but you just don't know about the outcome, you're going to be running away. So we really have to be honest with ourselves and not try to sugarcoat our ego when it's trying to tell us a different story. If we use the example of, we'll do a different example where, you know, someone in, maybe you're going to lose your job, or someone in your family is going to lose their job, and you kind of can see that coming, but everyone's saying, oh no, I don't really want to use this wording, but let's really send, I don't like the good energy, positive energy. That's very third dimensional, fourth dimensional kind of stuff. It's either conscious or not conscious. But if someone's asking you to, really put in good vibes, so that's their outcome. And you're all wrapped up in that outcome because you know if this person loses their job, what it's going to do to your family. You know, what it's going to do to their family. And you don't want that for them. You know, you don't want them to have to go through that. Knowing on another level, that might be exactly what they need for their awakening. That might be the thing that pushes them forward. Can you see that? Or are you so wrapped up in, I hate for that to be so hard for them. I'm really going to try to influence the outcome the other way. What can I do to prepare, get everyone to support this other outcome? If we're trying to influence an outcome, we're too wrapped up in it. We shouldn't give a shit about the outcome. If we give a shit about the outcome, then we're too close to it. Because the soul doesn't give a shit about the outcome. I can tell you that. Your soul is not going to sit there and go, oh no, it has to be this outcome. Oh no, I don't like that outcome. It has to be this, it has to be that. Soul's not going to care about that. Okay, the soul is only going to care, conscious, not conscious. Is it going to move you forward? That's it. It doesn't care about all the semantics the human gets stuck in. So when we're in a situation, if we're going to we'll do a little parallel. If we're in a situation where we don't even see we're attached to it, we just don't want to deal with it at all, then we're technically running away. And that's what humans do. That is, our humans go-to is to dip and dodge and run away. Now, once again, it's just a hamster wheel. You're not running away from anything. You're going to be in the same place because you can't really get away from anything. It's impossible to get away from something. All you're going to do is tee up the other reality, because you're telling your universe when you're running away from it, I can't deal with this shit. So we can cue this up in a few years. We can get new people in. We can run it back. And we'll do it with new people. We can get a new setting if we want to, but the energy's still the same, because I can tell you I can't deal with it, and I'm running away from it. Because I'm not making a conscious decision to step away from it and then step back to it. When you're making that conscious choice, I'm going to step away. I know I'm too involved. I'm going to step away from this. I'm going to resolve this within myself, because that's another thing it's trying to show you. You're trying to resolve it within yourself. What are you still holding on to of the human ways? You know, what are you still sitting there with and saying, I wish it didn't have to be that way. Okay, why does it have to be harsh for a lot of people? There's going to be a lot of harshness going on. A lot, 2023, 2024. I mean, I've heard stuff that I wouldn't even repeat, from different people I listen to about how harsh these years are going to be for people trying to hold on to the human stuff and not wanting to let that shit go because you're so wrapped up in some belief on it. So when we're running away from something, we just don't want to deal with it at all. Now, we can even parallel this to when we see we have a conflict with a person. And every time we we're with these people, we're kind of butting heads with them. You see this a lot with members of your family, sometimes siblings, sometimes parents, but I see it a lot with blood family. I know I've had that with blood family quite a bit, where I feel like I'm just butting my head a little bit. Only humans butt heads. Souls don't butt heads. Can you see the person as a soul and see their journey and understand why they have to go through that journey? Do you get all wrapped up in the outcome? And it's really important to be honest with ourselves. Are we wrapped up in the outcome? Can we just step away, knowing if we step away, we got to step back at some point and then re-enter it and see, okay, can I now be in the situation and see all the outcomes and be okay with any outcome that happens, even if a human would view that outcome as a very harsh outcome? Even if I go even harsher, we can go as harsh as we want to say. Someone has a miscarriage, that can be a very harsh reality for someone. If someone, you're close to, can you see how that could be a big awakening for someone, how that can push someone deeper, how that can make someone angry at the system, make somebody angry at the medical community to remove them from it? Can you see all those, everything that happens, there's a reason for it. And there's a billion reasons you're going to see. There's a billion reasons you're not going to be able to see. Are you open to seeing them all? I can see a lot of reasons. I can't see all the reasons either why some things happen. I can see quite a few. That's why when I said earlier, my Instagram stuff, I can't really post long stuff anymore. It's getting too hard to post it on a lot of the platforms, especially on Instagram, because I can see a lot of different views of it. So my videos have gotten longer over time because I'm trying to bring in every view I can see, because one might hit with someone where the other one might not. Can you see them more? No, you're not going to see them all, and you might see more later. But can you see how all of these things that we don't want to happen for people, or we're trying to do everything we can to take them to, maybe take them to a different place so someone else can, we're going to go a little medical here just to make the point. Now I'm going to take them to a different doctor, or now I'm going to drive them over here because I don't want that outcome to happen for them. So now I'm so wrapped up in their outcome, I have kind of gone unconscious because I'm around unconscious people. And that's a big one too. Can you be around unconscious people, which a lot of us have to be able to prove we can still hold our consciousness while being around unconscious people? That's some of the stuff I'm in right now. I'm sharing a space with some unconscious people. Now that's not a judgment. That's just where people are. Can I still hold my consciousness all the time? Am I going to go unconscious and start playing in the human stuff? Or can I hold my consciousness? Can I see that's the part of some stuff they have to go through? Doesn't mean we don't hold compassion for when people are in it. And when I say a lot of this stuff, I know it can come off as a cold thing. It can come off as you don't have feelings. We don't have feelings when we get to a certain space, and that's not true. We do have feelings. We care very deeply. We can just see the bigger picture for it. We can understand why it has to happen that way. Why for their journey it had to, because that was one thing was going to push them forward. Them getting that divorce, them losing that job. That was the one thing that was going to push them. That was the one thing that was going to get them to go on to the next phase of their ascension journey. It was going to shake them loose from the human society. If they don't go through that, we're trying to stop these things from happening to people because we don't want it to happen to people we're attached to. We don't want it to have to go down that way. We don't like to see people that we have attachments to suffer. And the only thing that's suffering is the human. Their human is going to suffer, and our human's going to suffer. Doesn't mean we don't grieve, because we can. We have to feel all that, but we have to understand that we're also clearing in ourselves. These things are happening to people that we do have an attachment to help us clear the attachment, because every time you cry and release, you're clearing everything that's not love in that attachment. Every time we grieve, we're clearing the non-purity of that attachment. That's what the tears are. It's that non-purity. And so we want it to go another way. We talk a lot on this channel about wanting our realities to go another way. We don't like the way ours have to go. But today we're going to flip in and talk about other people's realities. We don't want their realities to go that way. We wish they could do it a different way. I wish they wanted my opinion. It's a big one for a lot of us. So I wish they wanted my opinion. If no one asked for it, then guess what? They don't want it. And it wouldn't matter if you gave it anyway, because if they don't ask for it, they're not going to listen to it. They're not open to it. They're not open to it. That means we can't maybe plant a seed here and there and help someone try to see something from a different perspective. But you're going to have to feel into that and see what feels aligned for you to do. Does it feel aligned for me to even be in this? Sometimes we can step away from something because we don't even need to be involved in it. Why am I all wrapped up in a situation with someone that I barely talk to, but I'm really wrapped up in it because it affects other people around me? If we have an estranged family member and, I'm all wrapped up in what they're doing because it's affecting other people I'm not estranged from in the family. We're throwing out a lot of situations today. But I'm all wrapped up in it. I don't even talk to this person. We can see how convoluted we can get because we don't want anyone to have to suffer. But for a lot of humans and a lot of humanity, that's kind of what has to happen. That's what had to happen for us. Now, a lot of us do a lot of stuff, a lot of content like my content or other, there's tons of other content out there that talks about consciousness. Sometimes it's not from the purest place, but you kind of got to weed through it and take what you take from it and what a lot of stuff I'll listen to. Sometimes I'll think, well, that's not the highest aligned thing I can listen to, but it does activate something for me. So it doesn't really matter what you're listening to, in a sense. It's the frequency you're going to be drawn to. It's either going to be activating your human consciousness or your higher consciousness. You just kind of decide which one it is. But we really have to be careful trying to interfere in an outcome, because we don't want people to have to go through it. And because we're going to try to push for an outcome that is human aligned as the right thing, and not soul aligned as what their soul really is going to need to push them forward. Because the whole point of everything that happens to anybody is to push them forward. That's it. We can glamorize it. We can say it 100 different ways. That's the only reason. That's it. That's the only reason things happen, is to push all of us forward into something else. I mean, that's why it happens that way. That's why it has to be that way. So be really honest with yourself. Look back. That's sometimes our biggest thing we can look at. Look at the situations where you ran away from them, but didn't consciously step away. It's totally different energy. And to a human, it might look like, oh, you're running away from that. But if you could consciously look at it and say, no, I'm going to step away from this because, and that doesn't mean you don't feel it. And that's another big distinction between the two. You really want to feel it. Am I stepping away? Am I running away? Do I not want to feel the feelings? If I don't want to feel the feelings, I'm technically running away, even if I'm still consciously doing it. If I don't want to feel the feelings and release the feelings, I'm running away because I don't want to feel that. If I'm stepping away, I'm willing to go away, feel those feelings, grieve that reality if that's how that reality works out for them. But I'm not wrapped up in that outcome. I'm grieving if that outcome happens. But I'm not going to, it doesn't matter. Whatever is highest line is going to happen. And that's what we should want for everybody. There's no special treatment. There's no one we look at and go, oh no, they don't need to go through that. Or, oh, that old adage, oh, why does it have to happen to, air quote, the good people? There's no good, there's no bad. It's everyone's journey. Everyone's going through it their way. Everyone's going through it and on their time frame. No one's behind. No one's ahead of anybody. You're just going through your template. Okay? It's your template. That's it. You have to look at where you are on your template and look where everybody else is on their journey. Maybe they're not going to ascend here. Maybe there will. A lot of people say there's going to be a lot of mass deaths in the next so many years. I mean, the numbers I've heard, I wouldn't even repeat, because I haven't seen that myself. I've seen a lot, but not some of the numbers I've heard other people say, because it would be like, wow, can you imagine what has to happen on this planet for all this stuff to happen this way? So everyone's going to have the choice. Am I going to go on my ascension journey, or am I not going to go on my ascension journey? Everyone's kind of almost predetermined that already. We all have our choice of what we're going to do. But getting wrapped up in other people's stuff is, especially people we have attachments to. So if you are looking at a certain situation, another thing we can do to kind of help us with this is call in our galactic aspects and embody them in, because our galactic aspects don't hold attachment, especially not for humanity. They are very no nonsense. They are very almost refreshing. If you've done a lot of the deep soul work, you're going to really enjoy your galactic aspects, because they don't have the ties. They don't have the, what's the word? They don't have the love for humanity. They just don't. When you meet people who have a very strong galactic pull already, because they just don't have that. And people would say they just don't care. And a lot of people I've met that are galactic will say, oh, I just don't care about humanity. And they feel there's a guilt for that. They're harboring a guilt for that. And it's not to feel guilty for that. That's just where they are. That's where they are. They're in that mode. They're in that space. They don't have an attachment to anything. But eventually they have to do the soul work too. You have to do both. Most people do soul first, then galactic. That's how I did it. That's what a lot of people I know that's kind of the path they've been on. But sometimes you'll do soul for a while, and then you'll go galactic for a while, then go back to soul. Some people start with galactic and they haven't even done the deep soul work yet. But eventually they have to get to that, because you can drop your attachments. But if you don't have that love for humanity, you're not going to want to push humanity forward, which is what everyone's soul purpose is who's going through ascension. You're going to push humanity forward. You're going to do what you see to do. You're going to do it your way. You're going to do it in your words. You're going to do it, like how I talk about stuff is not how other people talk about stuff. Some people talk about it a lot differently than I do because I have to put it in my words. I can listen to something someone says. Like I listened to a call yesterday and somebody said running away or stepping away, and I'm like, oh, that's a good idea for a video. I'm gonna write that down. I wrote it down. I'm like, I'm gonna do a stream or a video on that. But I'm gonna put it in my words because it's my consciousness of what I'm gonna be able to see and pull in for that as my field expands on, and what can I see and feel like what's supposed to come into that conversation. Now, technically, we all share the same consciousness. That's where a lot of our content has a lot of the similar threads to it because everyone shares the same one. That's one thing we all have in common is our consciousness. In a sense, we can all tap up to certain types of consciousness. We can all tap up to pure source consciousness when we're at the consciousness to be able to tap into it, right? But it is a shared consciousness. That's why so many people dream a lot of the same stuff. You know, so many people see a lot of the same stuff about what's coming for humanity as a whole. People have a lot of the same dreams. When I talk about the dream where I'm late, I'm in school and I didn't study and I didn't pass the test, or I'm looking for a test, and I hear that dream so many times. And everyone wants to equate it to, oh, it was when I was in high school and I'm traumatized from high school. And I always throw this in whenever I do anything, just so people will kind of be a little aware of that dream. Your dreams don't care about your past. Your dreams are showing you multidimensionality of yourself. Now, granted, some people can see more than others depending on your consciousness and your body, or your body setting where your consciousness can hit. My dreams have expanded a lot at how far I can see, out what I can see, what I'm doing in my dream state. But dreams are activities of the soul. You know, just like dream dictionaries. It can be a fun place to do some archaeology work, dream archaeology, but don't get a fix to it. If you read that and go, it doesn't really fit for what I'm feeling, then it's bullshit. It doesn't matter. You know, I see a lot of people want to go to that right away and go, this is what it means. No, it's not what it means. It's what someone's interpretation of what that means. But when you're in that setting and you're in that high school setting and you're late, I haven't done something, ask for more information on that one. When you wake up, say, okay, what am I not doing? Because what I'm not doing is on a soul level. It's not on a human level. What am I supposed to do that I'm putting off? What am I procrastinating doing? That's what those dreams are normally trying to show us. They're showing us what we're not doing to get to our next part on our soul level, and we're running out of time. Because if we don't get whatever, we don't figure out what we're supposed to be doing, then our reality is going to crash around us, and then we're going to be pushed into the next reality. So we have some time, but we don't have a lot of time. When we start having that dream, if you're having that dream repeatedly, if you're having dreams similar to that repeatedly, where you know, I didn't study for this test, you know, I didn't study for a math test. I mean, all our soul-aligned realities, all our realities in general, they're equations. So really look at what's the subject, you know, what is it trying to tell me? What am I supposed to do? So many people dismiss it and want to say, oh, it's from 100 years ago, it's from 40 years ago. You so don't give a shit about 40 years ago. And it's no time. You're getting a glimpse into multidimensionality. Pretty much, I would say anyone that's had anything, what a human would say traumatic happen to them, saw it in the dream world first. They had a kind of warning it was coming. Now we get that dream because in other realities we're participating in, it's already taken place. We get that dream for a zillion different reasons. That's one of the zillion. How many can you see when you get a dream like that? We're also getting a way to start detaching from it. Yeah, I'm going to detach from this person because I keep having dreams they're going to die. So I'm going to start detaching in my dream state from this person. It's giving us the opportunity to do that before it takes place, or it's preparing us. Very few people I know who went through something traumatic didn't have some kind of heads up first. They didn't dream about it, but usually it's a latency that gets people in dreams. And it can still get me sometimes. In the beginning, it got me quite a bit. Depending on how far out you can see. Sometimes you can dream something in February and it happens 2 weeks later. I use February because I had that happen for someone where they dreamed someone was going to pass away and they needed to get all the documents, you know, set up before the person died. And the next day they wake up with the person still alive and go, we need to make sure all this stuff is done. And the person's like, what are you talking about? And all this stuff had to be done because the person was going through was going to go through some, you know, actually they didn't pass, but they went through a big health thing 2 weeks later and they weren't capable of doing anything for a while. So don't ever dismiss that state. It is your most powerful state. You have more consciousness there than any other state because you're not bound by the consciousness and the vibration of your body. And that's what weighs us all down, no matter how high you can hit in consciousness. You can hit the billionth consciousness. When you're weighed down by the body vibration, it hampers you during the day. It doesn't mean you can't see, because a lot of us will get to the point where you can see during the day. You know, your third eye will be open. Normally your third eye's open when you have your eyes closed. Can you keep your third eye open with your eyes open? You know, and you can start to feel it. My third eye just used to tingle. It'll still do that from time to time. It just like, whoo, I can feel it just go and tingle and go. But look at, when is it open? When is it closed? Close your eyes. Is my third eye open when my eyes are closed? When I open my eyes back up and look at the illusion of the physical reality, is my third eye closing on me? You know, look at this stuff. We have to really go deeper, and we can't kind of go. I see a lot of people want to go to a certain place with ascension, but they don't want to go deeper, because the deeper they go, then the whole human stuff has to start to go, and they still have attachment to that stuff. That's where their fun is at. You know, in our human realms, those are the fun things we did, and we don't want that stuff to go. Understanding that it's human fun, but it's not something that we really are going to do or want to do. Kind of, it's not soul aligned, and it really doesn't make us happy. But a human happy is such a low vibration, in a sense, because it can't really hold happiness, because the body's vibration is too low. It can only hit it for certain points in time. So when you're awake, you are hampered by your body vibration. But when you're asleep, you're not, because your soul's already outside anyway. And as we embody in light, the soul comes in the body. That's what it is. That's what soul embodiment is. You're bringing in all your soul aspect, galactic aspects. You're bringing that soul in. That's why you are able to raise the vibration of the body, and you're able to see more when you're awake. You still have a higher when you're sleeping, though, because your body can only do so much. It only has a capability of so much because the body wasn't programmed for this, in a sense. It's still a human body that becomes more of a human hybrid body. When you start to de-age, you reach your human template of how old you were supposed to be. Then you start to look younger. You look younger when you're out in the sun. You know, you can tolerate a lot more sun. You need a lot more sun than someone who's in a human body. So that's when you got to kind of be also careful about recommending different things to people on, like, a, you know, air quote, health stuff, because some people, if you're in a human body, it's not going to be the same as someone who is in a hybrid body. You know, it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same. They can't tolerate as much as someone in a hybrid body can. So as the soul comes in the body, your body's vibration raises, and you can see more. You start to be able to anchor in more. And that's what the trick to anchoring in is, the body vibration. You know, we have to get our body vibration up. And a big way we do that, beyond just the stuff you'll see, eat cleaner, you know, get the chemicals out of your body. We got to get our body out of the human stuff. That keeps us tied to those human realities. It keeps our body in that human stuff. And that's a big thing I see with so many people. They're willing to do all the other stuff, but they don't want to pull out of the human realities. They don't want to pull out of the human systems. They don't want to, you know, they don't want to stop playing in the human games. You know, they don't want to do that. So in a way, they're kind of running away from, you know, to kind of tie back. I do want to tie back to that dream a little bit. They're running away from what they're supposed to be doing. So if you are having that dream, don't dismiss that dream. Look at it. And I see a lot of people will describe very traumatic dreams, and they're so upset, because it's also the feeling when you wake up. How do you feel? If you're upset, if you're anxious, look at the feeling you feel. Sometimes I'll have what would feel like a traumatic dream, where I wake up and I don't feel anything. Or I'll wake up and be very emotionally distraught by the dream, and then I go back under for a while, go back to sleep for a while, wake back up and it's gone. You know, because I cleared the rest of it in my sleep state. You know, if you're having a repeating dream, and it's a situation where if you walk by that situation in your waking state repeatedly, would you question it? Remember, your dream state is no different than your it's just as real as the one you're in now. It's just you're getting a view into multidimensionality parts of you. Everything is real. You just look at this one and think it's more real. You know, we look at our human one and go, oh, it's more real. It's not. It's just an illusion. It's all an illusion, technically. It's just which illusion do you want to believe? But they're all illusions. So it's really important to go deeper. Deeper in, how do you feel about it? Is this aligned for me? Can I look at a situation? Am I too attached to the situation? If I have any emotion all around the situation, I've learned to just step away from it. Allow it time to reset. Allow it to clear my body. And then enter back in. If it feels appropriate. You might feel like it's not appropriate to enter back into it. If it's some of the situations we talked about earlier, it might not be appropriate for you to even enter into it at all. It might not be. It might be something you need to do. It might be, I don't think I need to be part of that at all. That doesn't interest me one bit, and I don't want to, I'm not going to go back into that, because that's interfering with someone's process. Be honest when you're interfering with someone's process, because you maybe not like the way it interferes with you. You know, if we take it a different way and say, am I interfering with someone's process because I don't want them to leave, or I don't want them to do this because then it's going to affect me? Where are we using guilt? Where are we using manipulation to try to manipulate an outcome? Because it's the outcome we want, but it might not be the highest aligned outcome. Okay, let me see if there's anything else I can throw in. Okay, I am going to do a card because I always like to do a card. But those are kind of the topics I do want to kind of tackle. There is another one, but I think I'm just do a video on that. So I'll try to be on a little bit more live here for my Instagram followers. But don't think I've forgotten about you. But if you do want a lot of the longer content, my YouTube channel is going to have a lot of the longer content because it's just getting harder and harder to get it on Instagram. And it's taken me hours to figure out ways around Instagram. And it's, you know, it is what it is. All right, let me pick one. Actually, I think I know which one I'm supposed to pick, but we're going to do this one. Oh, it's perfect. Okay. Soul respect is allowing others to do their journey. And I think that pretty much wraps up our topic for today, because I think that's what I already covered. That is the ultimate in soul respect. Allowing someone else to do their journey, even children. And now children are a little stickier because they're little. And you really got to feel into that. And of course, when they're really little, we kind of have to act. Are you acting as their human parent or a higher, are you acting as a soul aligned parent in a sense? You know, is it your higher aspect looking at this child, or your ego aspect looking at this child and trying to raise this child? I mean, that is one way you can look at that when you're dealing with small children, because, you know, we do have to put boundaries on small children, but what are we teaching them? Are we teaching them through our ego, or teaching them through our highest aspect? Is it my soul aspects coming through to teach this child, or is it my human aspect trying to teach this child? Look at that when you're dealing with children. And when children get to a certain age, then we do have to allow them to go. But when they're small, it's different. And when they're underage, it's a little different, because we do want to guide them. But actually look at how you're doing that. You know, are we teaching them to step away? Are we teaching them to run away? What aspect of you is showing up for that child? Or do I not want to do I want to just do what the child wants because I don't want to deal with the outcome? I've been guilty of that myself with small children, with my godson. Sometimes I don't want to deal with the outcome. If he doesn't get that toy, I can't do that because I don't want to meltdown right in the middle of the target. I can't do that right now. I can't deal with that. So with small children, we really have to kind of dissect that a little bit. And you know, obviously they don't have free reign like adults will in our life about what they're doing. And if we switch it back to adults, but let me just say one more thing about the kids. Sometimes I really have to look at when I'm dealing with my godson, who is 6 now, and how I dealt with him early on. You know, is it I don't want to deal with this little ego coming out? Do I not want to deal with the fit? Is it better to do something that feels more from my higher aspect to do, and then just have to deal with that ego? Because that's what I have to, that's highest line for me to do. It's not comfortable. I'd rather not have a meltdown in the middle of Target, but maybe that's where we have to head for, because that's what's highest aligned. But we have to kind of look at that. Now, when you're dealing with adults, you know, we have to look at what is highest aligned for me to do here. Soul respect is allowing someone else to do their journey, their way. They have higher selves. They have their plan. It's not us to say we know better than they do. I can tell you, you do not know better than somebody else what someone else's plan is. You might be able to see pieces of it. You might be able to understand different components of it. But until you reach the consciousness to completely understand yours, you don't know everything about theirs. You'll see some of it. I can see some of other people's. Do I know the whole thing? No. One, I'm not going to invest all the energy to know someone else's, because that's not my business. My business is mine, not someone else's. Will I guide if it feels appropriate? If they ask, yes. But it's not my business to be all up in somebody else's. That's what humans do. That's not what we do. So just kind of look at that. Look at, where am I interfering? Where do I don't want someone to have to go through it? Where do I not want to have to go through the fallout of what they're about to go through? But do remember And when, like I said, I do want to preface this that I think I'm going to get off. When you're dealing with realities that you might not like the outcome, because you know it's what's that old adage is, you know, it's all going to flow downhill, and eventually you might have to have a role of compassion there. When I talk about these things, and I know sometimes I talk about them, even if we've talked about mass shootings before, there's nothing I won't talk about around consciousness. We talked about mass shootings, we talk about illnesses, we talk about all this stuff. It doesn't mean we don't have compassion for people in those realities, because we do. We can just see the higher aspect. That doesn't mean we don't bring compassion for them, and we don't love them, and we don't support them where it feels appropriate for us to do that, because that's what higher aspects do, and that's how we show up. But we don't get attached to the outcome, and we don't get so wrapped up in an outcome that we try to influence it. We try to manipulate it. We have to support whatever is highest aligned, and we'll be there to support if it feels appropriate. Sometimes it might not be. Sometimes your universe might tell you, no, you got to step away. That's not your place to be there, and we have to honor that too. So I think that's it for today. I'm sure that this will be a topic for discussion in a couple of my videos to come. Normally I do Q&A, so if anyone has a question, ask me and I'll answer it if I can. If not, then I will sign off. But I don't think it's anything else I really want to throw in here. I think that's a good amount. So just be aware. I think I've said this a couple of times, but I'll say it again. Instagram channel is probably going to be just the videos. The longer content's going to have to be on Twitch and YouTube, because it's just getting tougher and tougher to do anything else on this one. Okay.